I had the chance to speak with acting ICE Director Todd Lyons moments ago on the latest developments in the investigation. Here's our conversation. My first question to you is, this hit home for you in a lot of ways, but you actually worked in the Dallas ICE office, right?
I did. I have so many good friends that still work there. It was really hard. I actually got the news as we were walking on set today on a totally different related subject at CNN. To hear that the ICE office was under fire, those potential fatalities, it really hit home. Seeing the photos today, some of the bullets were in an office that I used to have there.
Yeah.
It's a horrible feeling. People always ask me what's the thing that keeps me up at night. It's the safety of the men and women of ICE, and this is bad.
So take me to the beginning. What did you hear first? What did they tell you, and what did you think?
Originally we heard there was an active shooter on site, that there were, potentially 3 people down. It wasn't as it started to unfold that we learned it was a sniper.
Yeah.
The individual was just shooting indiscriminately, hitting windows, the lobby doors. Then the direction of fire was at our Sallyport, which is the location where detainees are brought in. The detainees weren't outside a vehicle. The shooter was just shooting at random vehicles inside. They were still hit inside the vehicle. There were some brave men and women on the ground that went into those vans, were pulling those detainees out while they're under fire. Unfortunately, 1 died. 2 are, critical condition right now at the hospital. But
and they were all shot while they were in the vehicle?
They were shot while they were in the vehicle, right. So the shooter obviously didn't know who was in the vehicle. He was just randomly shooting at windows, into vehicles that he'd already seen down there, at the officers that were outside the vehicles who had taken cover. What's really scary is the field office is right off I-35. 6:40 in the morning, Central Time, busy highway. There was a high-power rifle. Could have hit someone going to work, taking their kid to school. There's businesses around there. There's apartment complex around there. So this, was a targeted attack on ICE, but this really could have hurt anyone.
Do you know the condition of any ICE personnel? Were they hurt in any way, injured?
No, there was no ICE personnel and no civilians at the time that were at the facility that were injured at that time.
When you got the notification, maybe they texted you the photo, but the country has seen it now, anti-ICE written on one of those bullets. What did you think?
Obviously, I was devastated. It's the one thing we've talked about, the 1,000% increase on ICE officers and agents nationwide.
1,000%?
1,000%. And it's just increasing. It's getting more violent as it goes. We'd always talked about it's going to get worse. Secretary Noem put that out today, that all the vile talk against ICE, calling us Nazis, Gestapos, that something like this was going to happen, and it did. And, for me, it's my worst nightmare. And, it's bad enough the men and women of ICE have to go out there and put themselves in harm's way, doing their law enforcement mission, but never thinking that in our own facility, our own location, we take sniper fire in a major city.
I got to ask you about that. So we've seen this with the assassination attempt on President Trump, a sniper, 2 snipers, actually, in both cases. We saw it with Charlie Kirk. Unfortunately, that sniper was successful in his sick mind. And now we saw a sniper attack here, and a detainee is dead. How do you protect from that?
It's going to be hard. One thing, we're not going to be deterred from our mission, number one. But we got to make sure the men and women of ICE, to include our detainees, are safe. My heart goes out to that detainee's family. We're charged with their protection, their custody. Nothing like that should happen. It could have been some of the detainees' lawyers, who the lobby he fired into would have had people just visiting, the public, attorneys, could have been anyone. We need to definitely make sure all our security is in place. We need to make sure that we harden up our facilities, that we look for possible
does that
snipers.
happen now? I mean, do you have to start changing that up?
We've already been in a defensive posture, if you will. We want to make sure, just because of the attacks and some of the rhetoric, we were making sure we should be over precautious, making sure we're safe. But we need to go make sure we're definitely safe. When we go out and make arrests now, I never thought in my 20+ years in law enforcement would I have to send a security team out to protect people making an arrest.
What is your message to all the ICE agents out there, the men and women that are under you? What is your message to them as they sort of go into the job every day?
My message to them is I totally have their back. My number one mission is making sure they go home to their families every night. Secretary Noem is doing everything in her power to make sure we have all the capabilities we need, but we will make sure they are safe. We're proud of them, what they do, and we will keep doing our law enforcement mission.
Talk to me about recruitment. I've seen reports where there's a certain amount of job openings, but you guys are having a lot of applications. Does an incident like this deter that? You mentioned the 1,000% increase in attacks on agents.
That 1,000% has gone up over the summer. I actually think it's more than 1,000% now. But what we've seen is over 150,000 applicants that have applied for our new hiring initiatives for special agents and deportation officers and our attorneys. And I don't.
What do you think that comes from?
You know, I think it comes from a lot of people just want to do the law enforcement mission, people have a good career in a federal law enforcement agency, and that's what ICE is. And that's what a lot of this really dangerous rhetoric is being targeted at ICE, and it's taken away from the good work the men and women do every day.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to speak to the president, vice president, Secretary Noem, you mentioned?
You know, Secretary Noem's been great. She was amazing. She talked to myself and Deputy Director right from the beginning. Throughout the whole incident, myself, my team, and her team were in close contact. I spoke with the leadership on the ground, the Dallas folks, my friends that are still down there. You know, we're making sure we're taking care of the men and women down there. We're going to make sure that they're, you know, not only safe, but their mental state is safe too as well. We got to take care of them. It's a dangerous mission. Yeah. You know, we got to make sure we take care of the people.
ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons, we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.